What's up guys, it's Chris Majestic, and today I want to talk about some things you might be doing wrong in your home theater. Alright, so let's jump right into it with number 1. The very first home theater trend that needs to go is probably one of the oldest ones, and that's using multiple remotes. If you're using separate remotes for your TV, cable box, and your sound system on a daily basis, you're doing it wrong. Not only have universal remotes existed for decades now, but if you have your sound system connected to your TV through HDMI, you can use hdmi-cec. And what's cool is that most modern TVs, soundbars, and home theater receivers all have this feature. This allows you to use your TV remote to control everything, including your soundbar, home theater receiver, streamer, Blu-ray player, and all types of other devices. I did a video a few years ago explaining how to do this, so I'll put a link in the video description to that video if you're interested, but this is definitely a trend that we need to leave behind. And the next trend is an interesting one, and that's being stuck with your TV's built-in operating system. If your TV is several years old, or maybe you just got it but you hate how slow or buggy the interface is, well, you don't need to buy a whole new TV to fix this. You can simply buy a streamer like an Apple TV, Nvidia Shield, Google TV, or Roku. These devices are usually faster than your TV's built-in apps, and they can drastically improve your TV watching experience. And what's really cool is that if you use HDMI-cec like we just talked about, the streamer's remote can actually replace your TV remote, so you don't even have to worry about that. Next up on the list is a really common one, and that's cheaping out on sound. I'm a firm believer that your soundstage should always match the size of your screen. I can't stress just how much of a difference this makes when watching movies. Now, I get that not everyone wants a bunch of huge speakers in their room, but don't underestimate how important good sound is. And before we get to the next trend, I want to take a quick moment to talk about something that shouldn't be a trend, which is weak passwords. So if you're like me, your home theater or smart home setup probably includes a ton of devices, and every single one of them needs another login. Well, that's where Keeper Security comes in. Keeper is a password manager, and if you've never used one before, it's a secure app that remembers all of your passwords for you so you don't have to. So you create one strong master password, and Keeper stores everything else encrypted and organized, so logging into apps and devices is quick and stress-free. Over 4 million people worldwide trust Keeper to keep their private info safe, and it's one of the most secure password managers out there with end-to-end encryption, a zero trust, zero knowledge security model, and support for every major platform. It even includes dark web monitoring, so you'll get an alert if your credentials show up in a data breach. And with over 300,000 5-star reviews, it's the highest rated password manager on the App Store. So if you want to lock down your digital life and stop using the same 3 passwords over and over, check out keepersecurity.com and use code MAJESTIC50 for 50% off. You can also use the links in the video description. I want to thank Keeper for sponsoring this portion of today's video, and let's get back to the list. Next up on the list is fake Dolby Atmos. There are lots of speakers out there that slap the Dolby Atmos logo and branding on them, even though they can't produce anything close to what I consider to be real Dolby Atmos. In my opinion, the Dolby Atmos experience is supposed to give you full sound immersion from all angles, including sound from above. Now, I know Dolby Atmos and DTS-X are audio codecs, so technically the manufacturer isn't really lying if the soundbar can process it, but without at least having a pair of speakers angled towards the ceiling, I think it's deceiving and confusing to the average consumer, so it's a trend that I think needs to go. Another one on our list is also related to speakers, and that's lying about wattage. Now, this one applies not to just soundbar and speaker manufacturers, but also applies to home theater receiver manufacturers. I covered this in pretty good detail in my home theater receiver video a couple years ago, so I'll throw a link to that video in the video description. But long story short, some manufacturers have a habit of exaggerating the wattage or other product specs to make them look more appealing on paper. This is another one that confuses consumers because they trust that the manufacturer is being honest with them. So I think it's important to try and listen to a speaker in person if you can, or at least do your research before you buy it. And the next trend on our list is another one that manufacturers lie about, and that's lying about projector brightness. Now, you guys know that I've reviewed lots of projectors on the channel, and one of the most important specs from a projector is brightness. Well, projector manufacturers know how important this is, and some of them have a tendency to exaggerate their brightness claims. But this has been a huge issue over the years. So much so that Epson, one of the world's leading projector manufacturers, spent most of last year suing several projector manufacturers for lying about projector brightness. And the kicker is that they actually won several of those lawsuits. This has forced projector manufacturers to revise their stated projector brightness to be in line with industry standards. I will say that there seem to be far less projectors on Amazon with insane brightness claims, so Epson's lawsuits seem to be having a major positive impact. And I think this is good not just for Epson, but I'd argue that this is actually good for the entire projector industry as a whole. Alright, next up on the list is a trend that kills a bit of my soul every time I see it, and that's mounting your TV on the wall but leaving the cords exposed. Now, I totally understand that if you're renting, you might not be able to put large holes in the wall, but if you're gonna go through the trouble of hanging your TV on the wall, at least buy a cable raceway. Now, I still recommend hiding the cables behind a wall when you can, but a raceway is an inexpensive way to at least make things look a bit more professional. And while we're on the topic of hanging TVs, the next trend that needs to go is horrible TV wall installations. Now, I'm not sure how on earth this is still happening, but I can't count how many TVs I've seen fall off the wall because somebody had no idea how to hang a TV. Now, you might get lucky and catch your TV when it starts falling off the wall, but if your TV breaks or you end up with a huge plumbing bill trying to save a few bucks, I'd say the extra money to have a real professional do it the right way is definitely worth it. Next on our list of trends is yet another one related to installation, and that's using a projector without a screen. Now, don't get me wrong, I've actually recommended that people project onto a painted wall, especially if you're not sure what size screen you want, but this is something that's meant to be more of a temporary measure until you finish planning, but a screen has a huge impact on image quality. If you like the way an image looks on your wall, then I guarantee you'll love the way it looks on a screen. The texture and small imperfections in your wall can make the image appear blurred or misshaped, so a perfectly flat surface from even an inexpensive screen can have a huge impact. And it has an even bigger impact if we're talking about an ambient light rejecting screen. Either way, if you're not running a screen, do yourself a favor and buy one, even if it's an inexpensive one. And the last trend on our list is using cheap cables. This includes using cheap HDMI cables, really thin speaker wire, or even using a cheap surge protector. Not only can this have a negative impact on your image or sound quality, but it can prevent things from working altogether, or it can be downright dangerous. And buying decent speaker wire can actually improve your sound quality and even make your sound louder and clearer. I'm not saying you have to go out and spend hundreds of dollars on an HDMI cable or anything. I'm just saying not to go the absolute cheapest route. And if you found this video helpful, go ahead and make sure you hit that like button for me. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon so you don't miss any new videos. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.